Yo guys, it's Slyroh. You already know that today I'm bringing you guys my battle for week 2 of season 3 of the Pokemon Premier League. Today we're taking on Shroomraver and the Parasect Germain. Now, I've been really anticipating this match because every single time I battle Shroom, something does not go my way. Usually something hacks related goes against me, on top of usually I end up misplaying on top of that to put myself in a position to lose, and I've never beaten Shroom. And I really want to change that. We won our week 1 match, and if we can win this match, we are going to put ourselves in a great position for the standings moving forward into the season. So, I did my best, and I put the best team together that I thought I could bring to this match, but this was really tough. The team matchup was very tough on this one. He has a really hard to break through team, and I don't have a lot of stuff that can break through it. And he has a lot of different offensive options. So this was very tough. If you guys want to know the specific whole team and my thought process behind it, feel free to check out the team analysis video that went up earlier. Should be in the description below, and you can go ahead and watch that and come right back, and it's all going to be fine and dandy. Now, if I can remember off the top of my head, the team that I brought was a specially defensive Arcanine. I can do this. I brought a specially-ish defensive Bronzong. I brought a lot of defense, though I did bring a Life Orb Roserade and a Wise Glasses Hydreigon, as well as a physically defensive Hitmontop and a mixed defensive Lantern. So I brought a lot of defense with some offense, and we're going to see exactly how that worked out for us. Now, just to give you a little bit of a preface, this game did have its fair share of issues, and we are going, and I'm going to go ahead and explain them to you as we get there. But I think I covered everything. Any other questions that you have, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and of course I will answer them. But let's go ahead and start this matchup, and you can see what exactly we were dealing with. So he actually ended up bringing Sylveon, Scizor, Jellicent, Tornadus, Crocodile, and Noctowl. This team caught me a little bit off guard because I really was not expecting Noctowl, and I also was not expecting Jellicent. Once I saw the Jellicent, I kind of looked over my team, and I'm just like, this is going to be a little bit of an issue. I didn't bring Water Absorb Lantern. Why I have Volt Absorb, I honestly can't really give a good explanation. And although Noctowl I was less scared of, but I do know that its special defense is very high, meaning that I'm going to have to try and take it out with Arcanine's going to be my best option. Now, before even seeing the 6, I knew that my lead was going to be Arcanine because it has a good matchup against literally everything on his team except for Crocodile, and if he starts out with Crocodile, then it already starts off being intimidated, and then I switch into my Crocodile counter, which is him on top, and then it's intimidated twice before it does anything. But he actually decides to start off with the Tornadus. I guess the Defiant Boost, I didn't really mind Defiant Boost because, like I said, the only things that he's really going to have physical move pool-wise is going to be things like Knockoff and U-Turn, which still aren't going to do a lot to Arcanine or Lantern or anything like that. So, I do take a little bit of time to decide what I wanted to do here. I was going to attack and things like that, but I decided he's probably going to switch out, and nothing really wants to get Will-O-Wisp. He didn't bring Blaziken, so I can Will-O-Wisp his whole team. I can also go for, I also have coverage to hit this whole team. The only thing he has resist to Flare Blitz is this thing, the Jellicent, but I burn it, so that's cool. And I also have Crunch to deal damage to it. And I can kind of 1v1 this if I really wanted to, depending on how much special attack investment he has. But of course I didn't really want to deal with Scald. So I do decide to switch out this turn. As I switch out into Lantern, making its first appearance. He goes for the Toxic and misses, which is pretty big because I don't need to worry about taking Toxic damage. However, I have Heal Bell on this Lantern, so it wouldn't have been a huge deal. If he landed the Toxic, I probably would have just went for Heal Bell on this turn regardless. Now, I thought about going for Volt Switch, but I was just like, you know what? Nothing really wants to take a Scald. He's definitely not staying in with this thing. So I actually predict him to switch out and go for the Scald, which is amazing because he goes into this, and it does over half. Unfortunately, I do not get the burn. I would have loved to get the burn, but alas, it was not meant to be, which means that I had to switch into the Crocodile, which, of course, I have my one main switch, which is Hitmontop. So I don't take too much time to decide. I do take a little bit of time, but my switch into Crocodile is Hitmontop. If he doesn't have the superpower, I can switch in Hydreigon, but I had to scout for that first. So I decided to go into Hitmontop to try and see what exactly this Crocodile is. I'm trying to do a lot of scouting at the beginning of the game. The Tornadus, it got that crit U-turn first turn, and doing damage calcs, I could not narrow down what the heck that was. So I'm so clueless about Tornadus. So now we find out a little bit about this Crocodile. We did see the leftovers. That Earthquake does not do much at all. We see the leftovers go off, so I was not super scared. I was like, alright, it's not Choice Scarf, it's not Life Orb, it's not Choice Band-Aid, so we are, I'm pretty okay with this. And we see the Earthquake, which obviously we knew he was going to have, and no big deal there. So I figured he was going to switch out, so on this turn I decide to... I believe I do go for the Toxic, as he takes a while to, I do double switch. He decides to switch out, and I switch into Arcanine, because the more I can get this Arcanine in, the better, because he doesn't have much to deal with it. I mean, he doesn't have anything that he wants to really take a hit with from it, but he does actually end up going into the Jellicent, because I thought about attacking with him on top, but then he has the Ghost type, so it's just like, blah, blah, blah. I do get a Crunch kind of see how much damage, and he gets a crit Scald, so he's getting all these crits on his side, which are not helping me at all, and it's being really, really unfortunate. Thankfully, he did not take out my Arcanine. If he took out my Arcanine, that would be game-changing, and that would probably be 3 seasons in a row where I could probably attribute, a loss to some sort of hacks. But I go for the Morning Sun, he goes for the Recover. We're both kind of getting our health back. I just need this Arcanine healthy. It is easily my win condition, and I identified that before the game even started, honestly. But I don't really want to stand and just keep 1v1ing this thing, because Crunch isn't doing that much. We did see that he has the Rocky Helmet, so that's not super great for us, and that means that we can switch into something else. And I actually decided to switch into Roserade, because I didn't mind getting burned. I have Heal Bell if it does on the Lantern, which I can have plenty of free switches into, and I just wanted to put some offensive pressure onto him. So now I'm in with the Life Orb Roserade, one of my very few offensive things, and I knew he was going to switch out, so I go for the Sludge Bomb. He switches into the Noctowl, and I go for the Sludge Bomb, and I get the Poison. Now this is awesome. Now I'm not like super scared of Noctowl or anything that it could do, but getting the Poison for residual damage was definitely helpful, and I'm really glad that I got it. I mean, I'm not gonna, I can't lie and say that I wasn't happy about getting that, so yeah. However, I don't really know what this Noctowl wants to do in terms of offensively. I honestly had no idea what this thing was going to try and do. So I actually go into the Bronzong to try and use this opportunity to get my Stealth Rocks up. As he just roofs up for health, I do end up going for the Stealth Rock, as he decides to go for the Nightshade. So getting off the nice 50 damage, I see what kind of attacking move he has, and then I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and I was just like, wait a minute, this thing might have Defog. This might be his Defogger, so he can free up his other move slot with the Mega Scizor, and he didn't bring Latias, so this might be his Defogger. So I kind of used this to get a free switch into anything I wanted, because I was just like, oh, if he has Defog, he's going to go for it. If he doesn't, he's probably going to switch out. I don't expect him to just keep staying in here and doing this whole shebang right here. And yeah, so I do decide to switch out, and I go into the Arcanine. You're going to see Arcanine coming in a lot this match, because, like I said, it just has good matchups against everything, and now he has to worry about switching into Arcanine, and I can freely go for Flare Blitz, because the Jellicent is at low enough health that if I go for Flare Blitz, I can then take it out with Crunch. Please excuse the fact that the word results is on there. I have, like, when I record the battle, I'm recording the screen, and then I have the calcs off to the left, and sometimes when you have, when you just have an arrow, or you have your mouse just kind of sitting there on the screen, it'll say, like, click something to see more results, whatever. So I realized this very soon, and it shouldn't appear anymore on the screen for the rest of the game, and I'm going to try and keep a better look at that for the remainder of the season. So he takes a while to decide what he wants to do. I go for the I go for the Will-O-Wisp. I don't know why I didn't just go for the Flare Blitz. I think maybe he was, I predicted him to go into, like, Crocodile or something, because Crocodile could take a Flare Blitz, and then if he outsped me, he could threaten me out with an Earthquake, things like that. So I guess that's why I went for the Will-O-Wisp. But now I decided to try and take this thing out. Of course, the Crunch does not take it out. He goes for the Toxic, and Arcanine does get poisoned, which is bad. Because, like I said, Arcanine is my win condition. I needed to switch into a lot of things. And Jellicent actually dies to Burn, which is a kill attributed to Arcanine. So Arcanine got the first kill last match and gets the first kill this match, which is awesome. So now he brings in the Crocodile, and he does threaten me out. My main objective right now is I need to get into Lantern to get a heal bell off, because I cannot have Arcanine stay poisoned. I cannot have it. Above all else, that is one thing I just cannot afford to do. So I go and hit my top. That's still my my whatchamacallit counter, the Crocodile counter, as he goes for the Stealth Rock. And the great thing about having Hitmontop be like in the role that it is it's my main switch in for Shroom's only Stealth Rocker that he brought. So and it might actually be his only Stealth Rocker on the team, I don't remember. But yeah, so I can get a free Rapid Spin off. Jellicent is dead. There's literally nothing he can do about it. But now I get to switch into a Sylveon. That's fun. I probably would have switched an Arcanine here if it wasn't poisoned, but I didn't want to take residual plus possibly Specs damage. I was kind of fearing a Specs Sylveon, because for some reason every time I go up against a Sylveon in League, it's always Specs, like literally all the time. He goes to the Hyper Voice, and he does confirm that he has Specs. So that is interesting to note. So I know he Specs, so I know that I can switch in whatever. Now I think this may be the turn. I was calculating to see if I could get in Lantern, because I just need to get Lantern in whenever I can. He actually goes into the Scizor. I just get my Stealth Rock back up. But I was thinking about trying to get in Lantern at some point, and I think at this point he is actually going to Mega Up, as this right here I'm doing calcs to see if I could get Lantern in. Lantern is not necessarily the best switch into Scizor. Again, I would love to switch in Arcanine, but I don't want to get knocked off and then take toxic damage and then have to let toxic damage like rack up as I'm trying to outstall this thing. I didn't really want to do that, so I actually made the kind of bullet switch into Lantern. I take a knockoff, does less than half, so I'm not super worried about it. There's really nothing he could have that could take me out, so I was just like, I don't care what other kind of damage you want to do to me. I'm going for the heal bell right now, because Arcanine cannot stay poisoned. Just can't happen. So I do that as Shroom decides to switch out into his Tornadus. Sorry, not Thundurus. That's a Tornadus. And I was fine with that. This is kind of my switch into this. I do click a Volt Switch here as he U-turns first and then goes into the Crocodile to stop my Volt Switch. He gets it right this time. I thought he might not try and go back out to the Crocodile, but he did. So unfortunately for me, it's whatever. I knew that if he did bring that in, I still have a switch in. I still have switch-ins to the Crocodile, and I'm not really that worried about it. But I didn't really think about him U-turning before I Volt Switched until he actually did it, and then I was just like, oh, dang it, Shroom, one step ahead of me, of course. So of course now I'm just going to go into my Crocodile switch, which is Hitmontop every single day of the week, as he reveals the knockoff and he knocks off my leftovers. So okay, it doesn't really do that much damage, and now knockoffs will be doing less. Earthquakes still aren't doing that much, so Hitmontop still has plenty of switch-ins left in him, which is great. And now this time, again, I don't really expect him to stay in, so I decide to, as he switches out into the Sylveon, I decide to go for the close combat, just to get off some damage, kind of see what he wanted to do with things. And the Sylveon is around half health, which is really, really cool. I really wanted to get into a range where Bullet Punch might be able to take it out, but I didn't really realize if this is a max HP Sylveon, Bullet Punch doesn't really take it out until it's like 25% health or something like that. And I think this is where it happens. Okay, we DC. I paused. Alright, so we DC right here. And this is why I say this game got really interesting. Because 25 plus minutes of this game have just happened. And there's no clear winner. There's really no clear momentum. Like I feel like I'm doing well, but it's not enough to be game deciding. So after talking with Shroom for a while, we did decide to recreate the match and try again. So here we are back again. Now, what happened that turn? What happened that turn is he had in his Sylveon, and I asked him. I straight up, I had already chose. I was going to switch into Bronze on the Sylveon, so I was just like, okay, what move were you going for that turn? He told me he was going for Hyper Voice that turn, so we still recreated that turn as if it happened. There are going to be a couple differences in the recreation, as we decided to just kind of recreate the situation rather than try and redo all of the turns, because we didn't remember what happened in every single turn. So there are some differences. This Sylveon is at full health. There's also other mons. His Crocodile is also at full health. My Arcanine's at full health. And I think that might be it. And this Bronzong did not take a Nightshade from Noctowl, so it does have slightly more health, but this Bronzong has taken 2 Hyper Voices. I'm also pretty sure that Tornadus is at full health, and things like that. However, the Noctowl is still alive. Because it got regular poison from Sludge Bomb, we actually decided to just recreate it by me getting off a Will-O-Wisp on it. So the Noctowl is actually now burned instead of poisoned, but they both take away 1/8 damage each turn. So it is basically the same status condition. And because Shroom doesn't have any physically attacking moves, it doesn't affect his attack at all, and therefore it does not affect the match. So as a result of the DC, there are situations that are different. However, there are situations that were agreed upon by both myself and Shroom, so that way we could move forward with the match. Also, the timer is like way back up to 50 minutes left instead of 34 minutes left, so I was kind of keeping an eye on that, but I'm going to let you know already that that does not come into play. So let's go ahead and resume the battle and see what happens. So he's choiced into Hyper Voice right now, so, and I know this, so that means that I can either stay in and try and do something, or I can switch out. And I do believe I switch out into the Arcanine this turn, because every single time that I'm able to switch into Arcanine, I mean, I'm going to do it, because Arcanine is just a huge, huge threat to his team. However, he switches out into the Crocodile, which is, you know, him catching the Arcanine. However, there's a couple things, just based on the leftovers, the damage, things like that. I was figuring this was a defensive Crocodile. After the Intimidate, I know that an Earthquake cannot take me out, so I actually risk it a little bit here, and I go for the Will-O-Wisp. I burn him. I outspeed as he goes for the taunt. He must have thought that he could have outsped me. I'm base 95 though, and he's base 92, so I'm assuming he had no speed investment because I didn't either. So yeah, I outsped and I was able to get off the Will-O-Wisp, and this is a burned Crocodile, and unless he has Heal Bell on Sylveon, he has no way to get rid of the burn, and I didn't think he has Heal Bell on Sylveon because it was Specs. So, now that I know his whole moveset, for Crocodile, his whole moveset was Knock Off, Earthquake, Taunt, and Stealth Rocks. I saw all that. I know that Hydreigon can come in. I switched it on a Knock Off, meaning that Hydreigon's Wise Glasses got knocked off turn 1, which means I can't really play it as Scarfed, which doesn't matter too much because Hydreigon already outspeeds everything on his team except for Tornadus. So it's not a huge issue that I wasn't able to play the Scarf, but either way, now you see, now the Tornado switches into Rocks. I go for the Flash Cannon, just trying to catch the Sylveon, get some damage, things like that. But now I figured he's probably going to go for a U-turn, and I don't want to take that much damage on Hydreigon, so I just switch into the Lantern, and he gets a crit U-turn on the Lantern, which didn't matter too much. Lantern is basically just being sent in as damage fodder until it ends up dying, which that was the plan. So that's the plan with Lantern. Just kind of take damage, especially from Tornadus, until I can get a clean switch into something. Then, you know, I get a clean switch into, you know, something like Arcanine, and then I just put more offensive pressure. That's basically what I'm trying to do here. So yeah, so things are looking pretty decently in my favor. He decides to bring out the Noctowl, which I thought was kind of interesting. He's basically just bringing it into Defog, and I pretty much assumed that, so I was just like, okay, he can do that, and then I just get a Volt Switch off into whatever I want. I actually thought I was going to outspeed, and not realizing that Noctowl was faster, so he could have taken me out there if he really wanted to, but then he wouldn't have been able to get up a Defog, things like that. So I'm into the Arcanine. And you see that it is at full health now, but it was close to full health before, so it's not a big deal. And like I said, there's multiple Mons on Shroom's side that has full health now, and so we basically just recreated it as best we can with a couple of the numbers not matching up perfectly. But like I said, it was agreed upon between both parties, so that's fine. But now I'm in with Arcanine. That means that he has to try and switch into a Flare Blitz, which he can't do because Jellicent is not alive, hasn't been alive for a while. Crocodile isn't much of a switch-in anymore because it's burned. And yeah, I basically can just kind of run through his team right here. Well, not necessarily right here, but so yeah, there's Arcanine getting its second KO of the game, and looking nice. We still have all 6 of our mons alive. Shroom only has 4 of his, but he brings in the Crocodile because now that he's not intimidated, I still don't really want to take an Earthquake, and we DC again. So obviously, as you can see, we're not going to try and recreate that on Wi-Fi again. Clearly something was up with the Wi-Fi connection that just wasn't working. So we decided to finish this battle on Showdown. We recreated it again. Again, not everything matches up perfectly, but everything is basically matched up. I think from here, I'm going to try and remember. So on his side, the Crocodile did get burned, and it switched into like rocks once or twice. I don't remember. I think it just switched into rocks once and took some burn damage. Tornadus has a rock switch in. We had him start with the Mega Scizor because it already had its Mega up. On my side, because of Roserade taking some Life Orb damage, I know in the recreation I did have Roserade. We got Roserade some Life Orb recoil, so it had some damage. Him on top has switched into a knockoff to get its item removed from the Crocodile. Lantern got its item knocked off from the Tornadus and took some hits. We didn't get a crit, I don't think, like because he got the crit U-turn on Lantern. We just did damage until it was close to there. Bronzong did switches into Sylveon, and Hydreigon also got its item knocked off. So we recreated basically the whole situation from the continuation, and we decided to finish up this battle on Showdown. Now, because of the way I was recording this, the times I do calc, you are going to see it. So I just, the way I record, I don't have them separated because I don't usually have this ready to be the way I record. But yeah, so I switch out into the Hitmontop, which has been my switch in every single time, and I do decide just to go for the Rapid Spin because I cannot have rocks up because Arcanine is way too important. So I thought about switching into Bronzong, but I decided, you know what, I felt like I wanted Bronzong. I don't actually know why I decided I wanted Bronzong, but I actually just switched out the Lantern, and I find out that this Sylveon has Hidden Power Ground on. Of course, I know it's Specs, which means that it's choiced into Hidden Power Ground, which means that it has to switch out. I go for the Flamethrower. I probably should just went for the Draco Meteor, but in case he predicted that and went into the Mega Scizor, I didn't want to have that happen. Again, so I was going to go for U-turn. I just go into Arcanine because even at +1, it doesn't do that much. And you can clearly see that Shroom is just slowly losing to this Arcanine, and this Arcanine is, well, not losing at all, basically. And so Shroom decides to U-turn into his Sylveon, and I was just like, okay, Hidden Power Ground does a maximum of 50%, like max special attack modest specs does like 50%, and you see that I calc this right here. So this you can see the calcs. There's the your choice specs, you know, Sylveon. There's Hidden Power Ground. I put Arcanine on the other side, and Hyper Voice does almost as much as HP Ground, 42.6 to 50.7. So I can live. I can get a Flare Blitz off perfect. He actually goes for Hyper Voice. That did, I think it said 36%. So I had the Morning Sun up just so I didn't lose there. I still have 2 switch-ins to Crocodile. Really doesn't matter. He goes for Earthquake as I go into Hydreigon. Because I know that he can't really touch me, and I just go for the Flamethrower. He gets up rocks. Now, I thought about killing him here. However, like I said, I can't have rocks on the field. Arcanine needs to come in. So, as he probably expects me to try and just take him out, or try and go for Morning Suns and just kind of stall him out till he dies, I cannot have rocks stay on the field. And with this matchup, I can ensure that rocks don't stay on the field. Now, at this point, I didn't really know what this Tornadus was going to do. This is kind of a weird situation because I didn't want to, also I still had no idea what this Tornadus is. I still have no idea. I'm going to have to wait to watch Shroom's video to see what exactly this thing was. I'm kind of just checking to see how much it's going to do to Arcanine if he decides to go for an attacking move, and I kind of look at Hydreigon. I'm just kind of looking at what he could potentially do because I didn't think he was just going to U-turn again, but I didn't know, so it's just like, I decided to, after kind of taking some time, I decided to just go into the Rose Raid and just kind of sack it off. He goes for the Aerial Ace and Rose Raid's down. I didn't mind too much. I just didn't want to switch into a hit on Arcanine and then have to take another hit. And it would have been bad. I mean, the Aerial Ace, and then he could have like knocked off. Like I don't know. I just didn't want to deal with that. So I got a clean switch into Arcanine, and then he goes for the knockoff as I take out the Tornadus. That is kill number 3 for Arcanine in this game. And that's great. But now we're at 32%. So he can take us out with Crocodile. We're low enough to where Sylveon can take us out with a hit. However, we outspeed, so we can still get Morning Suns up because we still have Morning Suns left. And so now it has come down to endgame scenarios, which are always interesting because you know how it is with me in endgame scenarios. They are not always the best. So I'm calculating how much a burned Crocodile's Earthquake does to Arcanine. I didn't know if he was max attack adamant. I didn't think he was, but even if he was, 53 to 62%, I was going to get a Morning Sun up in case he overpredicted. He did go for Earthquake, and he actually gets a crit, and takes me down to 21%. So I'm like, if that's a crit, then we can just stall him out by going for Morning Suns as he, attacks and things like that. So that's what I do, and I do believe that this turn I go for the Morning Sun again as he goes for another Earthquake to put me at low health. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And it is. I go for the Morning Sun, he goes for the Earthquake, and then we do this one more time because he actually lived on 1%. And yeah, so I end up going for the Morning Sun. He ends up going for the Earthquake because I just need to keep this Arcanine alive because there is still a Mega Scizor. I didn't really want to try and win with like Hydreigon, which I guess I technically could have at this point. But he switches out. Okay, so I was wrong. He actually switches out. I switch into the Bronzong as he switches into Sylveon, blah blah blah. Then he switches in Crocodile. It dies to burn damage. Rack up kill number 4 for Arcanine. And he brings in the Mega Scizor. I go right into Arcanine. He gets up a Swords Dance, but it really doesn't matter. He cannot take me out with a +1 hit of any kind. So I can take him out with Flare Blitz. He can't switch into Sylveon because Flare Blitz is going to take out that Sylveon. And this is basically the game. So I go for Flare Blitz. This thing's gone. I don't die to recoil. Sylveon comes out. It doesn't have priority. It doesn't have Choice Specs Quick Attack or anything like that. Flare Blitz, take it out, and I do die to recoil. Arcanine gets 6 kills. All 6 kills on Shroomraver's team. And we win 3-0 against the Parasect Germain, the team that we have had so many struggles against and has had so much trouble beating. This was not a pretty game just because of all the DCs and things like that. But it was probably the most hacksless match I've been able to have against Shroom. There wasn't really any game-changing hacks, and I'm still pretty sure that he got more crits on me than I got crits on him. So if I even got any crits on him, actually. So we earned this. We deserve this, in my opinion, and this was great. Arcanine is Bae. Arcanine is my favorite fire type to use in League format, hands down, and in my personal opinion, it is the best. And this basically shows why. I had no offensive investment in Arcanine whatsoever, and it got all 6 kills. We were able to play around our other mons, and it was great. So I'm super happy about this victory. That gives us 2 wins, 0 losses on the season, +6 differential overall, which is going to take us closer to the top of the standings, which is the ideal place for where we want to end this season. We want to end in first place, we want to win this championship, and we have taken some really good steps towards that direction so far. So, that is the match against Shroomraver. Please feel free to let your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, everything in the comment section. And, of course, I respond and all that good stuff next week. Now, there is a transfer period coming up. So I'll update you about any things that do or don't happen. And then next week, I might be wrong, but I do believe that we are playing Sam, Fufu, and the Mew Castle United. I believe that's who we are playing, and I couldn't be more ready. We just took out one champion, the current defending champion of the PPL. Next week, we're taking on the former GBA D-League champion. So, one champion didn't stop us. I don't see how another one can. We are unstoppable. We are going to keep rolling through the league. That is the goal. let's do this. Hope to see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, guys, stay sly.